Hello, thank you for having me.
I want to start our conversation today about childhood hunger, something that you know a lot about personally, why we're here today. You called hunger, and I quote, the worst pain I ever endured as a child. Tell us what it feels like to be a hungry child.
Well, it hurts. Growing up with a single mom and my sister, um, mom struggled very hard. And there were many times and weeks and sometimes even months where we didn't have food in our home and really depended on um, organizations, churches, strangers, the school system to provide food. And during the weekends when we didn't get free lunch at school, or where we just went hungry, and it was truly the worst pain I think I've ever endured. Being hungry, it just hurts.
And it's something that so many of us take for granted, that next meal. And you talk a lot about that in your book, The Crazy Years. You survived homelessness and hunger, and at an early age, you realized you needed to depend on yourself so you could eat. And you wrote, even at 7 years old, I knew that if I didn't do something, Patricia and I would not eat until we went back to school on Monday. Tell us what you did in those situations.
Well, I did a lot of things, but one of those things where there was a lot of drug addicts, and people would come to our home, and basically they would just stay at our house and sleep on the floor, or take what food we had in our refrigerator that mom had purchased with, food stamps, and they'd take that food. And my sister and I was 7, she was 8. And so I basically just started taking the money that was in the pockets of the drunks who were taking our food. I just learned, you have to figure it out. I don't recommend that, but I had to do something to get food for myself and my sister. And I started working at a young age. I would just do odd jobs for people in the community, or I would just simply walk up to someone and ask for food because I was so hungry. I just see, someone in their yard getting their mail, or doing yard work, and I just say, hey, ma'am, you got any food I can have? It was just that simple. I was just so hungry. And those memories, I mean, you never forget them. Makes you more sympathetic for kids, especially who are going through that right now, um, especially in this country.
You talked about even in times you smelled bacon one day when you woke up. You were sleeping outside and you smelled bacon from, it turned out, the house next door. And you mentioned doing those things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. And that maybe is an example of that.
Well, when you're in survival mode, and that's what I was in survival mode basically all my childhood. And we had it was that morning. It was actually a Sunday morning, and the neighbors were they were getting ready for church, or anyway, they were cooking breakfast, and the smell of bacon. I smelled that bacon in the air, and it was too much. I went up to their back door and I peeked through the screen. I think I was around 10 years old at this time, and noticed that they had left their table. And I went inside their house. And while they were in the back room or wherever they were in the house, I could hear them talking. I had pulled up my shirt, and I took all the plates off their table and dumped them in my shirt. And just that's when I got caught. The man of the house saw me in the kitchen, and he's like, "Hey!" And I just took off running and ran out the back door of their home and went behind my house. And I just ate everything that they had left in their plates. Um, it's hard to believe, when people hear these stories. It's hard, especially to look at me today and where I am in my life, to imagine that somebody has went through something like that, and or to imagine that there are kids going through that right now. They're going through it. And we don't know this because it doesn't make it didn't make the headlines every day. And these kids can't speak up for themselves. And, you know, it's happening all around us every single day of the week.
You're right. And it's heartbreaking when you really think about it. And so many children living in poverty depend on their schools, those after school programs for food, as you mentioned. And many times we know those are the only meals they will get. So we're here today to support Children's Hunger Alliance, an organization that helps schools increase breakfast participation, working with after school programs to provide meals to kids. You talked in your book about looking forward to going to your elementary school each morning for two reasons: free lunch and Nicole Lindsay, the prettiest girl in the world.
Oh yeah. You know, it's food and the prettiest girl in the world. I mean, she was so nice to me. She was never mean to me. But I believe food was probably my first priority, because it just, when you're hungry, truly, when you're really, really hungry and you're a kid and that hunger is eating you up inside, the pain is just so much. Your focus is all about trying to find food. You can't focus on schoolwork. You can't listen to what the teacher's telling you. You're hungry. You're sitting at your desk. You're weak. You're just miserable. And getting to school as fast as I could and getting to that lunchroom and getting that free lunch was just, it was so important. And my sister and I would just go, and we would even ask other kids that didn't eat food, certain foods on their plate, if we could have it. And that's what hungry's like. That's what it's. I've been there, and I know what it's like, and I know that there's kids going through that right now. And this amazing organization is helping feed these kids, and depending on, you know, people to get involved and donate, it's important. I can't tell you how important it is. It's so important.
It really is powerful because, like you said, when there's no school, there's holiday school break, even the weekend, we're talking about not being able to depend on those meals. I want to talk about, during your public speaking events, under normal circumstances, you speak about the power of one. And in the book you wrote, every day was a challenge not to succeed, but to survive, as you said. When you were 16 years old, you met Bea and Russell Costner at a time when you were homeless, you were hungry, but you met them and it changed your life.
I was out looking for a job. I was 16 years old. My hair's down to here, and nothing wrong with long hair, but I'm just saying I just was a homeless kid. I was a homeless kid. I was just looked like a stray dog. And I saw this garage bay door open and this man standing there. He was an elderly man, and just something said, go in and ask him if he has any work you can do. And I was not afraid to ask anyone for work. I would just say, let me pick up trash or something around your house because I'm hungry. And he just said, you know, ask the boss, and nodded his head toward his wife, this little white-haired lady in the back of the shop, wood shop, turned off this radio arm saw. She put her goggles on top of her hair and brushed her sleeves off, the sawdust, and looked me up and down, and she said, come back this afternoon and cut our grass 5 o'clock. I was there at 4:30 because I knew she meant start working at 5. And when you're hungry, you're on time, let me tell you. She gave me a donut and a Coca-Cola that evening, and hired me to be her lawn boy for the remainder of that summer. And she would always give me a $20 bill, and that $20 bill would last me from this week almost to the next week. And ultimately, I ended up being invited to move into their home. They must have found out about me living on the street and, you know, couch surfing, and because I never shared my story with anybody. I thought it would scare people away if they knew, you know, the way I lived. So I just kept my mouth shut and just did my work. But they found out about my circumstances and then offered me a spare room in their home. That changed my life. And this gave me an opportunity to go to school, go back to school. I had to quit school, go back to school, go to college, pursue and catch my dream, which is what I do today. And I know if it hadn't been for that family, I would not be here. So it's my mission to to use my resources now and this gift that I've been given to raise awareness for these wonderful organizations. This Hunger Alliance is just, and to help these kids. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's what I'm doing every day, because I know how important it is for us to support this organization, and so that they can help these kids that are growing up exactly like I grew up. And many of their stories are much worse than mine. It's just that simple.
Now, in your story, you wrote the song, Some Small Good Deed, as a tribute to Bea and Russell Costner, the people who changed your life. It really is such a touching song. We would love to hear it. Will you play some for us?
Sure, I'll play some of it. Some small good deed that will not be remembered except by those present at the time. Some small good deed has made all the difference in this life of mine. Whoa.
Jimmy, it's really incredible because we're hearing this song because of some small good deed. What would be your message to our audience today, knowing that not all the kids struggling with hunger find a Bea and a Russell?
A small good deed collectively becomes a big deed and could help more kids. So I would ask the community and everyone watching right now, or I would just say this: if you think your small deed does not matter, imagine what would have happened if Bea and Russell's small deed hadn't happened. They changed my life, and just collectively, one small deed here and there can change the lives of so many kids. I believe in that 110,000%. I am living proof that can happen and will happen.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, not only for being here with us today, but for your willingness to share your story and put a face to childhood hunger for our audience today. We really appreciate you being here with us, because what we all do now for hungry children will help them find a way forward, just as you have done. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me, and thank y'all for getting involved and supporting this wonderful organization. Really do mean that.
Jimmy Wayne, thank you so much.